Alright guys, welcome back to another Warframe video. Today we are jumping into another one of the frames I've been having sitting there for a while that I've yet to touch, and we're going to do a first impression today of Atlas. Kind of an interesting looking frame. Not sure exactly what's up with the head and the neck thing going on there, but nonetheless, I've already got him visually customized, though I have yet to read about him or his abilities, so I'm going to do that first. So let's just jump right over to Atlas's abilities and take a peek. Passive, immune to knockdown while on the ground. That's actually a pretty nice passive perk. Bash enemies with an explosive sliding punch. Repeat. Devastating combo. Okay. Petrified enemies take extra damage and drop rubble when destroyed. Rubble can heal and bolster his armor. Stats are boosted by the equipped melee weapons mods. Okay, so there's kind of a lot going on in this first one. It says you can slide punch, repeat it for a combo. Also says something about petrified enemies taking extra damage and dropping rubble. So, okay, Petrified, that looks to be a separate ability, so it's going to be tied into, maybe you would want to cast 3 first, then 1. We'll keep reading through these to kind of figure out exactly the synergies here. I'm sure the tips will tell me as well. Next one is Tectonics. Summon a Bulwark Rock Wall. Activate again to send the rocks crashing toward the enemy. Bulwarks attacked by enemies release an AoE slash powered by the health it's lost. Okay, so health is pretty high health on the wall. Damage isn't huge. The explosive damage isn't huge. The radius isn't huge. The multiplier for slash is 1x, time invulnerable 1 second. So, I mean, I feel like I did pick up several of Atlas's augments, so maybe there's something in here that would make some of this make more sense. I don't know. We're just going to keep reading through it. Petrify, so Atlas Hardened Gaze will fossilize foes, heal rumblers, and create petrified bulwarks. When shattered, petrified enemies drop healing rubble for Atlas. Okay, so if you petrify and then eliminate them, they're going to drop rubble, and rubble heals you, so damage vulnerability is 50% if you petrify them. Okay, range isn't huge. It also heals rumblers, angle, I mean, whatever, stun duration 5 seconds. So I guess you could probably keep them petrified longer with a duration mod, but we'll see how that kind of functions. So petrify is seeming like a pretty strong one here, and it looks like it does have some synergy with landslide. Let's check out rumblers. Summon 2 elemental stone brawlers to the melee. Summoning petrifies enemies in close proximity. When finished, rumblers collapse into a pile of rubble. Ah, okay. So petrify and rumblers. All right. So yeah, I guess this is kind of an interesting kit with a fair bit of synergies here. Duration 15 seconds. Health, armor, damage, explosion, radius, stun, and speed multiplier. All right, so there's definitely going to be some augments that tie into this. I'm going to take a minute. I'm just going to read through the tips, guys, just to see what it says. So I'll do a quick cut. I'm going to read through them, and then we're going to go back and see if we can start to figure out exactly how we want to try to mod Atlas here. So 1 second. I'm going to read the tips, and we'll be right back. Okay, guys, so yeah, I just read through the tips, and there's a lot of terms to have to remember in this kit. Rubble, rumblers, bulwarks. I mean, there's a lot of things. Just reading through the tips without, having ever played this, it's kind of confusing. Like, I know I remember reading it, but like having it all memorized, what does what, immune to damage during landslides, that's interesting. More energy and more damage if you chain it. And then in here, petrified enemies drop rubble that can heal. Okay, that's straightforward. Damage scales based on mods, landslides for melee mods. So that's also interesting. Then petrified enemies killed by landslide drop rubble. Okay, so petrify Eliminated by landslide, drop rubble. I guess that's a resource. Then bulwarks summoned by tectonics can be like, that's just, it's so many things to have to remember. So I guess tectonics is his 2, and tectonics creates bulwarks. And then aim petrify at rumblers. I don't even remember what a rumbler is again to instantly heal back. I mean, that's interesting, but oh, rumblers is the 4. Okay. Aim petrify at bulwarks. Bulwarks are created by tectonics. Recast rumblers. That's 4 to detonate brawlers. Or is brawler? Oh my gosh, what is a brawler? This it's maybe a bit unnecessary, but that's fine. Recast rumblers to detonate Atlas's brawlers. I don't remember what a brawler is. Deal blast damage, create rubble. Okay, that's the thing you pick up for health and armor. Rumblers, that's 4. Brawlers durability. Oh, the brawlers are created by rumblers as the bulwarks are created by tectonics. Okay, absolutely unnecessary to have all this terminology in here, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm going to have to memorize it. And health shields armor, that's fine. Landslide, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. So, looks like he's largely going to be a melee frame. So, that's how I'm going to focus using him. And it says that he gains, additional buffs based on the mods that are on the equipped melee. For me, that's Glaive Prime, slash Toxin, little puncture, little of that, and the mods that are on here are specific, of course, to the Glaive. I don't know if any of this is going to have anything to do with it or not, but this is obviously a very specific setup for a very specific melee. Maybe there's other melees that would make more sense to try to put on him, but for the time being, the first jump in, we're just going to leave it exactly as is. So it did mention, ability strength, etc., etc. I know that he's got the ability to increase armor, and some of these other, like the whole kit is rather synergistic in reading about him. So I'm just going to jump in. We're just going to start with some basic mods here to just see what we can get going and what we think is going to make the most sense once we get in it. Steel charge, melee damage, that is probably among the better choices I could pick, since it does seem rather like he is largely going to be a melee focused frame. But then of course we've also got an alternate one here. Growing power, status effect with weapon, increased personal ability strength for X. So that's not a bad alternate option as well. I guess if I dislike trying to use him as strictly as a melee focused frame, I could try growing power, but I'd rather just get this on. This seems like the best fit, at least just based on what I saw that I read about in his kit. We'll play with it. Totally fine. So we know we're going to want some ability strength. So intensify, ability strength, restoring health with abilities. He does have abilities that technically restore health because of petrifying and the rubble drop. So I guess maybe if you pick up more, that would, but I don't know if that counts. So either it does or it doesn't. Don't really know until we test it, but I'm just going to assume that it does. So I'm going to grab the Archon Intensified in lieu of, say, Umbral, plus it fits that polarity slot. Totally fine. So we've got a strength up to 130. Let's just see what that does off the cuff. Health higher, armor higher, damage and explosive damage higher on his rumblers, right? That's the name of that? Yep. Petrify. Petrify on the rumblers heals them more with ability strength. Tectonics, yeah, that definitely added a big, they had 2,900 or something, now it's up to 3,867. Bigger explosive damage, bigger damage multiplier, not bad on the Tectonics. What about the landslide? Just higher base, looks like impact damage. I think that's the symbol for impact. I think that's right. So that increases damage. Let's see. Duration would probably be nice to have on here. Those last for 15 seconds. That is 5 seconds on Petrify. Duration doesn't apply on Tectonics. It just is what it is, I guess, until it's gone. So for his 3 and his 4. Now, I did pick up from Borrow Key Tier a primed duration mod earlier today. I have yet to do anything with it. So let's just look. Primed continuity, ability duration. So I could probably increase that up, but I'm not going to have a polarity slot that matches it. So Archon, he's not doing any of that. So, 50 on the duration there. But what about his standard continuity? Continuity, I can get up to 30 with that. All right, that only costs 7. I mean, I guess that's okay. Let's just start. We'll throw that on. That'll give us another 30% duration. So what's that take 4 and 3 up to? Duration nearly 20 seconds there now. That one takes it up to 6.5. So we only got an extra 1.5 seconds, but it was only at 5 to begin with anyway. So transient fortitude, I could throw on for some additional strength. That would obviously drop some duration. I could offset that, lose a little range. Trying to decide if I think range is super important on him. I mean, the radius, if we're doing the rumblers, I don't really care about that. I just, whatever damage they're doing, I'm guessing they're going to kind of focus more as melee. And yeah, they can explode and stuff, but whatever. Petrify, 10 meter range. Okay, that would lower it a bit, but it would give us greater duration for the Petrify. 3 meters explode. See, it doesn't look to me like the range is going to be massively important on him, but duration might be helpful to have. Yeah, none of these have a super crazy high range anyway. So yeah, I feel like that wouldn't be a bad one to throw on. Get us a bit more range in there. Let's get... his energy isn't super high. I'd like to get a streamline on there just for some efficiency to start. So duration, we've got that now up to nearly 30 seconds, and it's up to nearly 10 on Petrify. So that's kind of nice. I don't know if, once I start using this, if I actually think it's going to be the best choices or super useful. But that's at least just based on my initial kind of reading through stuff, what I want to try and just, once we jump in, we'll see what we do and don't like. Primed flow, I could maybe, that would take... What would that flip-flop that down to? We could get a flow plus a streamline. His range is down a bit. Energy is up a bit, since it does seem like we're going to be casting with at least some modicum of regularity. We'll see. I mean, there's plenty of good options in here, guys. This is just my starting point. So I guess let's just get some arcanes on him. Don't even know what would make the most sense. He's kind of seems like a melee focused on crit for fire rate to now. I'll just take a minute, read through these, and I'll grab the 2 that I want to throw on. Alright guys, I decided to go with multi-augmented and yeah, just a base Arcane Fury. Don't know if that's going to apply, but we'll see. That's where we're going to start. Again, this is just a test, just to jump in and start getting a feel of how Atlas feels. So that's going to be our starting setup. I guess I can leave Stalta, Epitaph, Glaive. That's all fine. Let's just leave that on. Turn that back to... Don't really need any of that on. I guess I could... Okay, so let's leave that on. Let's jump over to Sanctuary Onslaught, as per usual. Gonna hop right in. Okay. So the first thing is gonna be his punch of sorts. Okay, so he definitely has a punch. It's a little more anticlimactic than I thought that it was going to be. But, yeah, he's definitely punching. Alright. Alright, so he likes to punch. That's cool, I guess. I mean, that's not doing bad damage, if I'm honest. Next is Tectonics, so that is the thing that could potentially block a path. So if I wanted to, I could throw that there. Leave that up. I guess that blocks their path coming through that way.
Transference, still holding.
And now we can petrify, and I can petrify this wall that I put up and give it more health, I guess. We can petrify these guys. So we can petrify and then start landslide punching them. So yeah, that definitely does more damage. If I can get back up from down there. Okay. Petrify. Punch, 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 punch. Alright, so I mean, it's a little hard to tell what I think just this initial kind of bits against Infested. Obviously, Infested are, you know, the squishiest faction of sorts you're going to run into the game. But, I mean, he's definitely functioning just fine. No complaints about how he's actually feeling to use. Just a question of how well he's going to work in practice. So here's some more. Let's petrify him. That should, in theory, leave some. I'll need a little energy in the till, so let's see if we can find some here.
We have to win this.
There's some. All right. Yeah. Petrify. Petrify. Now we're going to start punching. That'll leave some rubble. Yeah, and it's obviously giving him more armor, which is pretty cool. Can we petrify these guys? Nah. Probably after they're out of their armor first. Okay. And then we could do it. Yeah, he seems pretty straightforward here, guys. I have, again, it's a little tough to tell fully what I think, just playing against Infested, but I have no complaints. He's functioning just fine. Doesn't seem to be overly flashy, but seems to work quite well. He's kind of reminding me a bit like, so far, Rhino in that respect. Not flashy, but he's working exactly as advertised. Give that guy a couple punches. Yeah, see, that does just fine. So I mean, his punch doesn't feel weak. I'll say that. It doesn't feel weak. And he gets a pretty nice combo out of it, too. So maybe some combo multiplier type mods for him would make sense, since he is largely functioning as a melee frame here. Let's see what the big boys do. They get in there and just kind of do their thing. And then those guys just kind of hang out over there. Yeah, I mean, He seems like he's going to function like, okay, a melee-centric frame that has pretty good survivability. That's at least how it's feeling to me on my initial just kind of playing. And not super flashy, but working just fine. It's always a host migration. Yeah, so if you're not getting a bunch of energy, it does make using him feel a little less good if you're focusing on landslide, I guess. But there's no reason that I can't just sit back with a decent weapon if I don't have the energy to be casting landslide on the heels of petrify. Yeah, you can see he's doing reasonably okay here.
Many things have been taken from us. It's true. But fortune favors
All right, so
there ain't none so bold.
let's see if we can see how much those guys heal. I'm not going to push through. I'd rather get the higher XP by having a group, you know, since the group left. But my initial impression is Atlas feels okay. Atlas. Oh, so I have access to them. I just haven't picked any up. Okay, now that I've played them a little bit, let's at least see if any of these make any sense to me. When above 1400 rumble, landslide costs no energy, so that's the punch, deals 2 times damage and travels 2 times faster. That would actually be an awesome mod if I could get him above and keep him above 1400 rumble. Rumblers create a single rumbler with 300 health, 400 damage, reactivating, slams the floor, knocks down enemies. Okay, that could be interesting. Petrified enemies are scanned into the codex, have a 25% chance to drop additional loot. That's actually a pretty good one. Tectonics create up to 3 walls with 100% health that can no longer be turned into boulders. Landslide, leave a trail for 12 seconds that petrifies enemies for 6 seconds. I mean, that could actually be... He's got some pretty good augment mods in here, guys. I don't know which one or ones I would want to start with. I feel like Rubble Heap would be really useful, and maybe I could use that in tandem with Path of Statuses. Because you get rubble from the petrification, and you petrify before you landslide because it does more damage. I feel like those two in tandem would work quite well, Rubble Heap and Path of Statuses. Or you could go for a different type of build by focusing on the Rumbler. The Orgaze would be nice just for, you know, having that extra perk in the background as well. He's got some very useful augment mods here. I think for me, I'm going to start with... Why don't we start with Path of Statuses? I won't have the points, but I can at least purchase this. I won't have the points to equip it yet, but he's got a few on here I would like to play around with. So let's just get that on. We know we can't rake him up again yet, so we're going to have to play just a little bit longer. Let's jump back into Sanctuary Onslaught. See if we can get him at least finished rank up. Yeah, I could throw a potato on him now, but I'd rather have the full points at my disposal before I decide if I want to do any slot forming or anything. Let's go jump back over into his mods and look at him. I feel like that is going to be useful. Wow, that duration is kind of crazy on that now. Must be something else I had on there. That's okay. Let's bump up path of statuses. 1, 2, 3. We'll apply that fusion. Okay. Stone rate from path of statuses. It's so interesting. I'm not. They just keep throwing these words in here that I'm sure makes sense, but until I actually see what it actually means in practice, it's a little tough to tell. Duration range, yeah, I'd rather throw something in here that does more range with a little less duration. I'd be willing to swap that off. So if I take that off, I mean the duration on there is still good. Duration there is just fine. So yeah, let's target for some range versus that crazy duration bump. We've got continuity. That's fine. We can leave one on there for continuity. I know stretch obviously is the obvious. I think it takes 9 for my max. It does. That is a shame. Well, I guess I could go ahead and potato him. So let's throw a potato in there. That's fine. Let's get stretch on. That definitely increases the range. So what's that? Kick it up to 20 meters on petrify. Yeah, that's nicer. Plus, with the other stuff I threw in there, he's got plenty enough duration. What's the range on that now? Stone radius 8.7 on the rumblers. That's fine. Tectonics. I've only used that a few times, but that's fine. And the landslide. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I'm not, remotely upset about where that's looking right now. So we could consider a rolling guard. He doesn't have super high shield. His health is kind of middle of the road. Shield's kind of middle of the road. His armor isn't bad. But I feel like when eventually I do test him in Steel Path, he's going to feel pretty squishy. So I'm thinking rolling guard is going to be important. So I do want to get that one on now. I also would like to increase his strength a bit more, but I think I'm going to have to Archon Shard to do that, because I wanted to try to get 2 of his augments on. I think I only have the 1 right now, but eventually there was another one I wanted to play around with. Maybe it only makes sense to grab 1. This may be the smart one. Let's go back and reread it. It was from Steel Meridian. So let's just go back and read them again.
Here's what
real
we
quick.
can do for you.
Top row. Yeah, it was this one. Rubble Heap I was thinking would be nice for landslide. But frankly, I haven't seen it come close to having that amount of rubble. Maybe that's got to do with... I don't know how you could get rubble up that high. I'm honestly not sure. Yeah, I think I am going to pick all of these up, and we'll probably have to play around with these a little bit. But at least that'll give us a baseline. So I'm not going to worry about that for now. We've got him ranked up to max rank. I don't necessarily think that I need to form a slot yet, but I still have 24 points left. So I could, drop duration a bit more and give him even more strength with that transient. That probably would make the most sense at this point. Let's just see what that does. Yeah, the duration drops a bit. That would drop it down. Yeah. What does Petrified drop down to? It's still reasonable. And I think the trade-off having more range is better. And obviously, with a higher strength, it does make him stronger. And strength also seems to be the thing that, for Path of Statuses, does the increase on stun rate and stone duration. That seems to be tied to strength here. Obviously, the damage numbers on the rest of this stuff as well is tied to strength. Yep. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave that for the time being. And we'll just keep playing around with this, but I think that's going to be where I want to leave it for now. We'll come back and we'll play with some of the other augments as I get them unlocked. But for where I am right now with the build, that's where I'm going to leave it. So let's just go do a little bit of real-world testing here. And obviously, knowing that his melee ties into the mods of his equipped melee, is there anything that makes more sense on him than just leaving the Glaive Prime? Because I could easily swap this onto some other melee. I'm going to try the Zorus this time around in lieu of the Glaive Prime. Let's take Atlas over to, I'm going to say solo. Let's take him over to Zariman and try a Zariman Bounty like we've been trying the last several times on these new frames I've been testing for a little real-world test. This will give me a pretty good sense, but we've got him ranked up. We've got his mods adjusted. He feels okay. Let's just do this. We'll go with level 50 to 55 in here. This will be fine. It's just to see what I think about Atlas outside of Sanctuary Onslaught. I'll cast just a little
has enraged the Void Angels.
energy
They're
here.
ripping the Albrecht membrane, exposing this entire ship to a void flood. Vitablast is everywhere except for where it should be.
Yeah.
Grab some and stuff it in a rupture. Gather up nearby Vitablast and bring it to the ruptures.
This isn't really the best either, if I'm honest. But you can definitely see that his Petrify has absolutely gone further. And it's leaving the Petrify in their wake. And now it's getting more rubble in the tank. So that other Augment mod I was talking about, thinking about, may actually not be horrible to consider here.
Sealed a rupture.
Oh, no, he went down. Okay.
The Angels have torn open another rupture. Fill it with Vitablast before this whole ship goes topsy-turvy.
Yeah, he's not feeling as tanky as I was hoping he would feel. That is one definite thing I'm noticing here. Especially as somebody who, like, their kit is to get up in your face and be pummeling. How did I miss that big one? There's no way. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Billy? We'll just come down here and, you know, work on this bit.
Wow, Vitablast sealed that rupture.
Yeah,
Just
it did.
as I knew it would.
All right, so this isn't really the best test. I didn't really like the options I had when I came up here, but that's fine. So let's just get back over to C. Can't possibly do that much more. Really?
Void floods have a tendency to wash in terrible things. One of those things is approaching. Do be careful. Did you have a chance to ask where it came from before you killed it? I have opened an escape lift for you.
Yeah, so
Use it.
lack of energy makes him tough to use. Gotta have energy to even be able to get anything going. He doesn't have the highest shield. He's up in your face meleeing constantly, which is not inherently an issue. However, it does lead him to feel a bit squishy if he's not dumping out the volume of damage. So probably what I may want to consider doing is putting on like a condition overload onto whatever melee I'm using with him, since the mods are going to impact his kit. So probably a condition overload. I guess I'll see. I'll play around with that and see what I think. Alright guys, I just made a few little adjustments to the harmony, which frankly I haven't used in a while. I'll probably still play around with this, but I was able to get condition overload on there. I just took the Tennokai off of the Exilus slot and swapped the Fever Strike for Virulent Scourge. So overall, it did drop the numbers on paper, but again, because of how the galvanized mods work, once we get it going, that should get things going a bit further. And since these mods play into his melees, I think that this will give us a little bit better sense of what he's going to function like. So I'm going to jump back in one more time. We're going to check out one more bounty. It's the same set that are up. That's totally fine, I guess. So find and activate 2 Loke Surges. Those are just those little things you pick up. And this is Exterminate. Yeah, this is the one I think I want to try. It's going to be higher difficulty enemies, but I think this is going to be a better test to see if I've at least got him moving in the right direction. If my thoughts on how I want to set him up are at least sound.
Welcome to Halako Perimeter. Do not disturb the other units.
These Grineer grunts are hunting for Kuba on our ship. Get in there. Carve them up. So long as they keep coming.
Okay, he went down. That's not ideal. Trying to get a few guys eliminated real quick to get some energy orbs popping out. Okay, so that's fine. Let's try it this way with these guys. And we'll punch. Guess that's one way to take him down. Something is damaging us. What? I'm on the brink of death here. Yeah, Atlas is feeling a bit squishy, guys. Okay, so yeah, harder difficulty enemy level. I'm not getting a ton of energy drops here, so that's making this a little bit of a challenge. There's some energy. Not much, but we do need to activate some load surges, so I'll go for the first one I can. Hopefully keep him on his feet. That's fine. Looks like it's downstairs, at least the closest one to me. Where is it? Right down here. Okay, that guy's down. Head up. Oh, Atlas. Why do you feel so squishy, my friend? Yeah, he just doesn't seem like the type of frame that should be squishy. He feels squishy. In his current state. You know, I gotta say is thankfully I've got sculpting. Oh, good, good, yeah. Luckily, the Harmony does a good job. Oh, gosh, guys. Yeah, so I don't see him in his current state having a snowball's chance at making it through Steel Path level content. I feel like he should be hitting harder than he does. I also feel like he should be more resilient than he is. So there's obviously something I need to tweak in the setup that I've got going for him here. Don't know what the tweak is, but we'll have to keep playing with it. That much is clear, but I am going to at least finish up this bounty. Let's grab this other surge. Fine. Yep, Harmony still works extremely well, guys, so there's that at least. Look how few enemies I've actually eliminated this whole time I've been in here. It's actually kind of crazy. I know I'm going to go back to the drawing board. So we're not going to take Atlas next video immediately into Steel Path. He's definitely not ready for it. No chance. It's going to take some adjustments, some more tweaking. Oh, you're so squishy, Atlas. Are you kidding me? There's just no reason for this level of squish for a frame that's built like this. It just doesn't make sense. Yep, didn't even get through it. That's awesome. So, yeah, lost all that awesome void gel that I picked up while I was in there. That's unfortunate. Yeah, Atlas is going to have to go back to the drawing board. The way that he functions seems like it should function much better on paper than it does in practice. He doesn't feel like he can protect himself well enough, and he's not popping out as much damage as he should be for how his kit functions. So let's just go back and look at it again. Let's look and see what the numbers actually say on his kit, on his abilities. Landslide in particular. Stats are boosted by the equipped melee weapons mods. So I guess that's the stats of these numbers that it's showing me. It's not necessarily going to be doing anything from any of the stuff of the type of mods that I have on. So yeah, I don't know, guys. Let's look at tectonics. The damage is higher on that. Even the explosive damage if you explode it. The multiplier's higher. Maybe I should be using tectonics in lieu of landslide as kind of the main, just quick cast. Obviously, I know what Petrify does. The rumblers don't do a boatload of damage, but maybe in lieu of landslide. Yeah, I feel like I'm probably going to need to be playing around with some of his augment mods to flip-flop off of landslide being the primary to something else. But I have been recording, getting scarily close to an hour and a half now, guys. So I've obviously got a lot of editing to do in this video. So I'm going to leave it there. I've got some work to do in the background. I've got to play around with some different setups. So I think for me, I'm going to keep playing around in the background, do a little grinding so I can get some more of his augment mods unlocked. So we're going to need to get some more 3 hours. I can get a little more standing. I've hit the cap for the day, but pick up a few more of his augments to play around with different combos of them. Because I feel like there's potential in him. It's just he's not set up right with what I have in order to make him function. And maybe my initial thought of landslide being a key one would not be as useful as rumblers, because I know there's an augment that puts just one of them up, but it makes them hit way stronger. So we can go back and look at it. I think it was. Let's just double check it. Let's look at it again. Click in here, view offerings. Where is it? Titanic Rumbler. 300% health does 400% damage. So they're base 9, 436. So that would be doing way more than Landslide does in its current state anyway. Maybe there's something else in here that would kind of pair well with that mod. I don't really know. Yeah, I mean, that on paper seems like it's pretty good, and it didn't seem bad, but I feel like if you just want them petrified, just petrify. So I don't necessarily need to have that on. So I think the next thing I would try is Titanic Rumbler in lieu of Path of Statuses. That as an interesting trade-off. I'm going to be playing around with tectonics the next time I pull him out. This would obviously be useful, but that would be for just background kind of farming, grinding type work, I feel like. Rubble Heap, if I could keep it up, the extra damage on the landslide, if I could find a way to get more consistent rubble for the Rubble Heap, that would probably be useful. But gosh, I don't know, guys. I'm feeling like next I need to play around with Titanic Rumbler and use tectonics more in lieu of landslide. But like I said, I'm going to play around with it. So I'll do some background work on the next Atlas video that I pull out. I feel like he needs to be adjusted. We just need to play around with a few things in the background and then try him out again. my point was that, Atlas to me feels like he's probably going to have potential to be pretty fun here, but being that he is largely kind of melee focused up in your face, I've got to get his damage output higher than that. I've already got kind of the panic button roll on there, but he's got to be dishing out much more damage because his numbers in terms of survivability aren't that high, even though, just the way he looks, the way his abilities are on the surface feel like he should be, kind of a tanky frame. He doesn't actually feel like that. So it's probably my setup. So I've got some work to do. I've hit the daily standing cap, so I can't grab any more of his augment mods yet, but that's what we're going to be focusing on in the background before I pull him back out. He's definitely not ready for a steel path test yet. I know it would be an abject failure. I could probably sloppily muscle my way through something like a capture or a spy, just get in, get out. But it wouldn't be a test of his ability to withstand steel path level content, and he definitely doesn't feel ready yet. So I'll be coming back to Atlas. I've just got to do some more background work. We're going to try a few different setups. Definitely not giving up on him. Like I said, in my experience, if I'm like, this frame's really not for me, the first time I try him, it's probably my setup. It's probably some adjustment I need to make in order to get them up to a level that they'll function for my purposes. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about Atlas. He can get through lower level stuff just fine, no problem. But once the difficulty starts to ramp up, he just feels a little too squishy and like he's not dishing out enough damage. And if I want to be using his abilities in lieu of just weapons, constant weapons and shooting as a weapons platform, that's the adjustment that's going to need to be kicked up. And maybe he shouldn't be used that way. That's okay. That's going to be part of the learning process as I continue to play around with him, but I will get that figured out. So my initial impression is he's fine, but he's not one that right now I immediately say, I'm going to be coming back to Atlas again and again. I've got to get him figured out. I've got to make some adjustments, play around with a few different things to figure out what works, and give him another round of goes and tests before we can kind of take him into that next tier difficulty up. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to rush to judgment. I think there's potential here, but I've got to put in the time and play around and figure out a setup that works for me to have success with him. So that's it, guys. That's my first impression on Atlas. Always fun jumping into a new frame, and certainly one that is a little more challenging to get going than others. That's actually kind of different. Most of the time they're all pretty straightforward. Here's how they function. Jump in and figure out right then and there. This one is one that seems like you have to work for it a little bit, which is nice. I'm up for the challenge, and I'm looking forward to jumping in and seeing if I can figure him out. But guys, regardless, that is going to do it for today. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you checking in, and we will catch you on the next one.